This is the Undefeated Sports Network. Sport Court, and court is in session.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into a very special episode of Sport Court. As always, I am Andrew Tarbill. To my left is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho. And rather than pointing, I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, just say to my left.
After years of doing this podcast, I'm still not able to point in the right direction on cue. One would think we'd be able to master that, but...
yeah, like I'd say right... Oh, hey,
look at that. You got
right
it.
Pointed left. It's like driving a boat.
But anyways, got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to talk some of our favorite topic, and that is the Chicago Bears. A lot of big moves with the Chicago Bears here recently. Obviously, minicamp started. We got the first chance really to hear from Coach Eberflus and Justin Fields in, more than just a 5-minute bit. Both of them were on the podium for a substantial amount of time a few days ago, and some really good messages came out of that for me. We'll get into that and a little bit more, talk the cohesiveness that the unit's seen so far, especially with our guy DJ Moore, who's going to have a big breakout season for our Chicago Bears. And
that's what you hear, right? You hear he's looking good in practice, and him and Fields are playing really well together. I'm excited for that. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out why I got it. All right, we're good. We're up on my Facebook now, so perfect. Everything's all set.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, man, yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Bears fan, right? You hear all the right things coming out of this organization right now.
Right.
And excuse me, you hear all these positives about DJ Moore and how him and Justin Fields have really garnered a connection together from the start and been able to be on the same page. They're doing a little bit more practicing together after, just the mini camp reps and stuff like that to help build that chemistry. Justin Fields is doing everything that he can to get that connection rock solid with not only DJ Moore, but the other guys on the field before the season starts. And that's exciting, Ace. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
At this point in the year, to have almost the entire starting roster at minicamp really speaks volumes about where this team's at and the belief and the chemistry that this organization has, because you see a lot of other teams, it's mainly just the rookies and then one or two guys shows up from the starting roster. We've got pretty much everybody but Eddie Jackson and a couple other guys.
Yeah, and Eddie Jackson's injured. So, I mean, Jalen Johnson is holding out, I guess, for a new contract because dude thinks he's like Darrelle Revis or something. But I don't know. I feel like you can't be like a subpar player and then
how did that work
hold
for
out
Roquan
for
Smith?
Right, exactly.
He was
they
a
got
great
rid
player.
of Roquan. Yes,
100%. At the end of the day, I have always said that, I think contracts should be settled at the end of the season or before, but it shouldn't be something that holds a guy out.
Yep.
And you see it time and time again too much in this league, especially for the amount of money that these players are making.
Without a doubt.
Like, you're going to sit out and not take a $10 million contract or what, I don't know what Jalen Johnson's contract is, but, either way, millions of dollars are on the line and you're going to forfeit that to sit out to try to prove it.
Right.
I've never understood that logic. But that brings us to a great point, something that was heard in the presser from the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Fields, our quarterback number one. He was asked about his contract. He was asked if he's worried about, playing well to solidify a contract for next year. And he flat out told the media that he doesn't care about his contract. He's not worried about that at all right now. He's worried about performing for his team and putting wins on the board.
Right.
And that's exactly what you want to hear out of, really a foundational piece of your organization. We've touched on it time and time again on this show that obviously we're both in the belief that Justin Fields is the guy and that he's going to have a breakout year this season. But on the alternative, if he doesn't and the Bears are bad, they've got 2 top 10 picks probably.
Yeah, and then you package those together and get yourself a number 1 pick and a new quarterback.
Yeah, so there's really no losing scenario this upcoming season for the Bears. But, with that being said, let's delve into it a little bit. Looking at the presser the other day in its entirety, a lot of good things coming out of Coach Eberflus. He's saying that he's really seeing this unit start to gel more in year 2, and both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, these guys are playing hard. They're competing in a friendly way, continuing to build on that hits principle culture that is so important to this organization moving forward. Man, every time I hear Coach Eberflus speak, I think he's a great speaker, much better than Matt Nagy was at the podium for sure.
Yes, without a doubt.
However, he does get a little bit repetitive, and I don't hear as much as I would like to about issues like, for instance, the Jalen Johnson thing. He was asked specifically, why is he not here? And he said, well, guys don't have to be here right now.
Right.
Well, yes, we understand that, but obviously there's underlying reasons. Like you mentioned, the contract negotiations, it's pretty much been alluded that he's going to hold out until he gets a new contract. And like you said, this guy is not Darrelle Revis. He's not a top tier proven player yet to where you can hold out and leverage that for money, in my opinion, right?
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Like, what are you going to be like? Oh, hey, look at my great numbers. Oh, they're not that great. Like, they're good. He's a good option, but I don't think he's worthy of muscling himself into a new contract by holding out. You know what I mean? This
organization just drafted a bunch of depth for the secondary. Like,
right. That's another thing.
It's like replace you with another body and move on.
Exactly.
That is exactly what Ryan Poles will do. And
that's what I was going to say. Like, you're looking at a guy in Jalen Johnson who, I know, I get it. Everybody wants their money, but a teammate of yours just did this. Got shipped out of town because one thing we've seen with this front office is they have a number for their positions and their guys. And if you're not going to get to if you're not going to get to that number, then you're not going to be on the team. We'll find somebody else to bring you in. Jalen Johnson isn't a guy that you can't find somebody similar to bring in, or even one of the rookies to step up and be, like him. I just think
you drafted 3 rookies for your secondary this season, and obviously not all of those guys are going to be starters, but what you did, you drafted for depth in the later rounds at those positions, and guess what? You've got a pretty solid starting core, probably with or without Jalen Johnson.
I mean, think of the other guys on this team that still need extensions, right? Like, I feel like even on this team, Jalen Johnson isn't a top priority. Like, you're going to have the Justin Fields contract you're going to have to look forward to.
Of course.
Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool. Like, there's all these other guys before him.
So let me stop and back you up there, because you brought up a very interesting point without even knowing it. You mentioned in extensions a name that I do not believe the Bears will extend after this season in Darnell Mooney.
Oh, nice. I don't either. I think
that the writing was on the wall for Darnell Mooney when this team drafted Tyler Scott, because Tyler Scott is comped at almost exactly the same skill set as Darnell Mooney.
Yep.
He's a hair faster, and guess what? He's young, he's cheap, and he's going to be on a rookie deal. So
right.
I just don't see, unless Darnell Mooney goes out and has a breakout year and has 1,300 yards receiving,
right? Like,
all while DJ Moore's doing
touchdowns
on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, Mooney's going to be your number 3 option this season, right?
You would think. It
You've
depends
got
how
DJ Moore
Claypool.
and you've got Chase Claypool.
I think it depends on how Claypool adapts this season. He didn't look promising last year. So it'll be interesting to see.
Not a lot of time with the team.
So do I.
Being under pressure and duress. I think you'll know whether Chase Claypool is a foundational piece of this team moving forward by, I'm going to say week 6, week 7.
Yes. 100%.
You'll know for sure if he's back to playing like he did his rookie and his second season in Pittsburgh, being a bigger bodied guy, being explosive, making plays, great. If he's like he was his last year with noodle arm Ben Roethlisberger, well, then it might be time to let him go. And that's the beauty of the deal, right?
Right.
You're not obligated to him long term. So if he doesn't work out, you cut him, you move on, you don't. I mean,
I know everybody was a little salty that the Bears gave up the draft pick to get him, but at the end of the day, you're looking at an offense now with DJ Moore that if the names live up to what they're expected to live up to, those 3 guys are a pretty solid trio for any quarterback. You know what I mean? So if Claypool should have one of those years where he's able to get back into his old self, if there is an old self, you know what I mean? Like
if it's there, that's what it boils down to. Is it still there, or was that a fluke your first 2 years in the league? I guess we'll see. Only time will tell. But as we just said, ultimately the Bears can move on from him with very little collateral damage. I mean, a second round wide receiver may not have worked out. Kevin White didn't work out, and he was a top 15 pick. So
didn't even play like 3 full games with the Bears, I don't think.
Yeah, across 3 years.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
He was averaging a game a season.
You wasted a number 1 pick on a guy who played 3 games for you. That's outrageous.
It might have been a little more than 3.
It might have been.
It wasn't a lot.
It would not have been much more.
Take a look at that while
I'm about to right now.
Next point. You look at this receiving core as a whole, as you said. You've got your big 3, so to speak, in DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney. But then you really have added some solid depth. As I said, Tyler Scott's going to be another great option in the slot. You got Equanimous St. Brown, who this coaching staff really seems to like for some reason. I don't really like him because he dropped a lot of balls in key moments last year, but he's a good blocker. And obviously we see Fields run, even if he runs half as much as he did last year, he's still going to put up 500 yards. So he will need a guy that can block for him downfield at the receiver position. So maybe that's why they kept him.
I feel like this isn't right. So it's saying he played 4 games in 2016.
Okay.
1 in 2017, but then 9 in 2018. I don't remember him playing that much.
No, that is correct.
Wasn't that the year they went to the playoffs? 18?
Yes. Yeah. So that is correct, but by the time he came back in 18, he was used very situationally and
not really a factor.
Not really an effective player.
Yeah, but still, like you wasted a number 1 pick on dude.
You wasted a number 1 pick on a guy that played less than a season's worth of games across 3 years. Such a Bears move.
Such a Bears move.
Such a Bears move. But with that being said, I mean, so back to this receiving core, you look at your depth. You've got Tyler Scott. You've got EQ St. Brown. Dante Pettis is still on the roster, although I'll never forgive him for that 4th and 8 dime that he dropped that was right in his hands.
Yeah.
You had one job, and that was to squeeze your hands on the football, and you couldn't do it. But anyways, no, going back to this receiver room, we almost have a problem of too much depth, right? Because really we have a chance that our 3rd round 35-year-old pick from Tennessee last year, Velus Jones Jr., doesn't even make the roster.
Yeah, I mean, that would be... I mean, that's like the one thing I'm worried about when it comes to these guys evaluating wide receivers, because like the last guy they drafted, he was old. He's an old man in football years. You know what I mean? Okay, so he's not a young guy anymore, right? And then you have him where he literally cost you 2 opportunities to win, can't hold on to the ball. It was just a rough season. He had at the end of the year, I believe he got a little bit better with returns, but still, like, if that's the only thing you bring to this team, the value isn't there.
Who was the pud that we got rid of from the Vikings? Smith Marset, right?
Yeah. Something Marset, yeah.
Was like, oh, I'm going to be a hero and I'm going to win this game for us. And then he fumbles twice in one game against the Vikings. And they're like, yeah, you're done here, buddy.
Yeah, it's just nuts, man. Like, I'm so excited to see these weapons. PFF ranked DJ Moore out of the, top 20 wide receivers. They ranked him 16th.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's...
I think he's probably in the top 15, but whatever. As you know, I'm not a big fan of PFF, and I don't think they're going to be sponsoring the show anytime soon.
Nope, probably not.
Badmouth them more times than I can count over the years, but it's mainly Chris Collinsworth. I hate Chris Collinsworth. Okay?
Yeah, I can't stand him.
I can't stand Chris Collinsworth as a broadcaster. Every time he calls a Bears game, I cringe and turn my radio on and listen to Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak from ESPN 1000.
Yep, and now we get the home of the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Now we can listen to him all the time there.
But no, man. I mean, obviously excitement around the weapons. Edmonds at the linebacker position. Excited to see him perform. The coaching staff and, well, obviously Coach Flus has had his input, but Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham have done a terrific job, I would say, as a whole in the offseason and then in the draft, really plugging a lot of holes that were present in this team going into the offseason, right? Yep. There was a lot of work to do. You didn't really have any starting caliber linebackers on your team.
No.
So you go out and get 2 guys for the price of Roquan Smith,
yep.
who are arguably just as effective.
Yep. No, I mean, pretty much, if you look at the stats, they were almost identical. Not almost, but.
So you go out and do that. You've still got the jackhammer, Jack Sanborn, who's going to be playing in
That's Brian Urlacher.
And then you drafted the kid from Oregon, Sewell.
Yeah. Yep.
And obviously he's going to be a depth piece. The secondary last year I thought was really good. Obviously, when healthy and together, between Gordon, Brisker, Jalen Johnson, Kendall Vildor, that's a solid secondary already. You added some depth there, which was really good. You needed to address the defensive line, so you go out and you draft 2 big-bodied guys in Pick and what's the other guy's name? How do you say it?
I don't know how to say it, but I have it written down. I just don't want to butcher it. So
go for it. I want to hear it.
Oh, I don't want to.
All right. So you go out and you get 2 guys for your defensive line and really solidify that, hopefully. I would still like to see him pick up a D end along the way, and I think there is still something in the works with that.
Yeah, that's what
a lot of people keep bringing up Chase Young's name, the defensive end for the Washington.
Yeah, but you would have to trade for him, and what are you going to trade at this point? They wanted 2 first rounds for him, and dude's been injured more than he's.
Yeah, he's not worth 2 first rounds.
No shot.
So either way, you go out, you add a couple key pieces to the defensive line. Then offensively, you do exactly what you need to do and draft a franchise-changing tackle in Darnell Wright.
Yep.
Can you tell me the last time the Bears drafted an offensive lineman in the first round days?
I can look.
I would bet it's been 10-plus years.
Wasn't Gabe Karimi a first-round pick?
Gabe Karimi was a first-round pick.
Yeah, that was probably the last offensive lineman they drafted first round.
I think you're right. Yeah. So that's had to have been.
When did he start playing football? Or when was his career? Hold on, I'm looking right now.
That had to have been at least 15 years ago.
Yeah, he played 11 was when he was drafted.
Okay. So It's been 12 years since you drafted
Yeah.
an offensive lineman in the first round. That's absolutely crazy to me. I just don't understand this philosophy that, this team takes as a whole when it comes to their ability.
I went to close the browser window or that gave Creamy stat, and I accidentally closed this browser window. So, hey, but we're back.
Amateur mistake. What a rookie move. I'm just kidding. Things happen. But as I was saying, I don't understand this organization's philosophy previously in not just the last regime, but the regime before, living and dying on these guys that were 6th, 7th round picks for the offensive line.
Or like old offensive linemen from other teams that didn't have what they used to have.
Guys that were getting cut because they were no good anyway.
Right, and that's what you were hoping.
Let's go out and hope that we can put a spark in him. We had 47-year-old Jason Peters on this offensive line 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah, God, that's terrible.
He was like 39, but still, I mean, the guy was on a fishing boat fishing for crab and shrimp when
and they called him, hey man, our offensive line is trash.
Yeah, we need you for our offensive line. For what? He got stepped on and was hurt like game 3, and even when he was healthy, he couldn't breathe through more than a quarter without being gassed. So,
yeah, poor dude.
I mean,
that was a rough. And I think he went on to play for another team.
He played for Dallas the next year.
Yeah. So hey, good for him.
Still playing at 40. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
That's the hustle that we can all hope for someday, right?
Oh yeah.
But ultimately, you go out, you draft Darnell Wright. So now your offensive line is comprised of Braxton Jones, Nate Davis, Cody Whitehair, Tevin Jenkins, and Darnell Wright, which is a very solid unit, right? I mean, on paper, as long as this unit stays healthy, they should be able to protect Justin Fields. We got rid of Sam Mustipher, so the center's not going to be getting blown back every play into Justin Fields. Sorry, Olin, it is what it is. But, I mean, ultimately, this unit's going to be much better than it was last season. And you can look at almost every piece. Foundationally, you look at every piece of this team and you can say that it's better than it was last year. And it's not just like a patch job.
No, it's like younger players. Younger players that you hope to see have a future with your team, right?
Right.
And that's the best way to build.
They're building the right way. So rather than just patching holes, they're actually, filling the hole and saying
it's not just a Band-Aid they're trying to it's not just a Band-Aid they're trying to put a little gauze on it, wrap it up, and stop the bleeding that has been happening.
Of course we have to be excited as Bears fans, right? I mean, this coming season is probably the most hopeful I've been in years as a Chicago Bears fan. I mean, I had some high expectations for the team last year that didn't come to fruition, but I think,
and I mean, we got some pretty high standards with our schedule breakdown last time too. So,
but I think this year is really the prove it year, and if they don't prove it, then again, we're back to the drawing board for next season. We're not backed into a corner, as this team has been so much traditionally over the last decade plus.
Right. And you're looking at maybe one or two more pieces, younger pieces, like an edge rusher next year. And you get somebody who, with your 2 picks, right? Let's say there's just these 2 stud edge rushers in this draft. Boom, 1, 2, you got them. Now your defensive line has those other young guys. Now they added those pieces. Your team is going to be, the expectation level has already risen this season, right? But if you add those little pieces next year, I mean, I think it would be playoff or bust if you're asking me. You know what I mean? But
100%.
Just because of what they've done so far to fill the holes, I have that kind of confidence that they'll be able to continue filling these holes the right way.
Well, and that's the big thing for me is it's almost that same mentality this season. I don't want to say playoff or bust, but like winning record or bust is the goal this season. And if you win 10 games, that's probably pretty damn close to good enough to win the division and earn
you would think.
Spot. And we alluded to it when we looked through the schedule 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we did
2
the
weeks
schedule
ago.
breakdown.
Yep.
We looked at that schedule and we're really hard pressed to say that team wins less than 9 or 10 games.
Yeah, 9 games would be 3 times better than you did last season. I would think that's a success. I think if you can't get past 7, I would look at this as a failed season. But then you would also know the Justin Fields question too. So,
and that's ultimately, if you don't win more than 7 games, that gives you the answer that maybe Justin Fields isn't your guy.
Right. 100%.
I don't know. We said it that early on we'll know probably by week 5, week 6 if Justin Fields is coming out in more of the same, tucking, running the ball, scared to throw to his receivers, getting more time in the pocket and still taking off rather than going through his progressions. That'll be evident pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, back to the offensive side of things for a minute, you've still got Cole Kmet, who I didn't even talk about when we were talking receivers.
Right.
And I don't know, apparently Hub Arkish is convinced that Cole Kmet's not sold on Justin Fields. That report came out.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. Yeah, okay.
Whatever.
Here's the thing. Cole wasn't doing much before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if that's real, then I think he needs to take a look in the mirror. I do think what they were able to do last season was fantastic because it was the best season that Kmet has had.
Yeah, and the first part of the season, Cole Kmet started off really rocky, subpar. Right. It was like, is he ever going to live up to expectation? And then he did the second half of the year. He was catching big balls in big moments and, being that red zone target that the team needed.
Yep.
He didn't put up all pro numbers or anything crazy, but he trended in the right direction.
Right. So, I think he was in the top 3 for touchdowns for a few weeks in a row. So, I mean, he wasn't there before.
And I always say this, and not to beat the dead horse, but the Bears led the league for 6 weeks in scoring last year and didn't win a game.
Right.
So
you had the number 1 scoring offense for 6 weeks and lost those games, which is nuts to think
that's
about.
A mind-boggling stat.
Yeah, 100%.
When I heard another guy who I don't like very much say that, Dan Orlovsky was actually the one that brought that.
Yeah.
Mr. Run out of the back of the end zone was the one that brought that stat up on live television. And it's mind-boggling, man. I remember hearing that, and I literally paused my TV and rewinded, and I'm like, what? The Bears are leading the league in scoring and have been for the last month. Mm-hmm. And then they went on to continue doing so for 2 more weeks and didn't win a game in that 6-game stretch. And put up on average during that 6-game stretch 27.3 points, I believe, per game. That is wild.
Especially from what we're used to with this Bears offense, right? You're looking at
usually the offense is super subpar and the defense is what keeps us in games, right?
Right. But that's what I mean. Like, that offense was that last season. You've upgraded the wide receiver position. You've upgraded the offensive line. Why can't the offense should be at that or better? That would be my expectation for this offense.
No, absolutely. And if it's not, again, room to draft next season.
Right.
So
absolutely.
And I don't say that at all with hope that this doesn't work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want nothing more than for Justin Fields to go out, be the Bears' first 4,000-yard passer, break Shane Matthews' record of 38.98 yards, and crazy to say Shane Matthews has the most yards as a Bears
especially
quarterback.
Like, I would have thought Cutler.
He dink and dunked it all the way there. I mean, 5 to 7 yard passes at a time was all Shane Matthews was really good at.
That's wild.
And the occasional Hail Mary, I guess. But I want Justin Fields to go out and score a dumb amount of points. I want people to be, I don't want to say scared of, but I want people to respect the Bears offense. And
I want people to be scared.
This is a unit
I want them to be like,
going to come out here and tear me up with the run game. Then they're going to hit me with the pass game. And guess what? If neither of those options work, their quarterback's going to run for 64 yards for a touchdown.
Like, they have so much Philadelphia Eagle vibes to that offense right now. Obviously, the Eagles have a much better offensive line, so I'm not comparing that. But
I
in
get it.
terms of
We
like the
don't have a
ability,
Kelsey on our line.
right? But the ability with Fields, he plays so much like Jalen Hurts, right? So you're looking at that offense and you're seeing, okay, well, if Fields can take the step that he took, this offense, how do you stop it? Like you said, you stop the running back. Okay, we'll throw on you. You stop that. Okay, Fields has already proven
he rushed for over 1,000 yards last season.
Right, like he's already proven who he is as a rusher. Like this offense should make people scared. I know you said you didn't. I want them to be feared. I want defenses to come in and be like, "Damn, what do we do to stop these guys?" That's what I want this offense to be.
I saw a picture of Darnell Wright under the black light, and the caption said, like, imagine you're a pass rusher and you're going to bed the night before you have to play the Bears, and you open your eyes and see Darnell Wright standing in your closet like this. And I was like,
that's awesome.
As funny as it is, obviously, it's a good feeling to know that we have a solid tackle to protect Fields. It's a good feeling to know that we have an excellent option for him to throw the ball to in DJ Moore.
Yep.
And we have depth all the way around. We managed to get depth pretty much all the way around in one off season. Like the offensive line is the one place I would like to see some more quality depth, but
yeah,
no,
that's so hard because like you said, there were so many holes on this team in general.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like they could have
fill all of them.
Right. I mean, I feel like, yeah, they could have maybe packaged a couple picks together, moved up to the late second, early third, maybe get a guy. But
then you're hurting your chances.
Right. Exactly. Then you take away other spots that even if you weren't filling it with an all-star, you're still filling it with somebody that was better than last season.
Right.
So maybe next free agency, depending on how the record is, Poles will take a look at the free agent market for offensive linemen just to give them that like last leader of the line type. But
and this is only year 2, right? That's
right.
That's what we as fans and even us as analysts have to remember is this is only year 2, and Ryan Poles tore this team to the ground.
Yeah.
He did exactly what he said he was going to do and dismantled the entire roster basically.
Right, dropped contracts.
I'm not going to accept these heavy, dumb contracts that we shouldn't have signed. Goodbye Khalil Mack, goodbye Roquan Smith. See you later.
Hicks was one of those, yep.
All of these guys, Eddie Goldman was done. I think that was kind of mutual at that point, but
yeah.
You look at all these guys that he was just like, nope, the contract's not there. Your performance is not up to the level. We're going to start fresh.
Right.
And that's exactly what you need to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I did see an interesting take at the defensive end position. Leonard Floyd is
come back
out there and readily available. Come back for about $7 million. I would not want to see it. I hated Leonard Floyd.
I didn't like Leonard Floyd. I thought, he did some things well. I don't think he rushes the passer very well. So
right, which is what we need.
Right, right. So I wouldn't bring him back.
Very counterintuitive to
exactly,
do that,
unless they were able to somehow flip a switch in him. But I doubt that. We've.
I mean, he was a little bit better pass rusher for the Rams, but
yeah, but he had Aaron Donald on the one side, right? So all the focus is over there. You better get some sacks,
right?
Otherwise, you're trash.
And maybe Pickens is that guy. I'm not saying Pickens is going to be Aaron Donald good, but maybe he's that guy that draws attention off the defensive end and lets them thrive a little bit. Only time will tell, man. I'm excited though. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, the ceiling, no matter what this team really accomplishes this year, the ceiling's already so low. All you got to do is win more than 3 games, and you're better than you were last year. So
right. I think.
I mean, all jokes aside, in my opinion, all you have to do is win 8 or more games, and this is a successful season.
Yeah, if it's under 7, I think you look at it as a fail. I think 8 plus is more than enough to be satisfied. 5 more games than last season. It's hard to win games in the NFL. 5 more, right? 5 more games. I feel like it would showcase that this offense was legit, that the team was able to, was able to close games out, like something they weren't able to do last season, which I also think is a good improvement. And then it also showcases the coaching staff, right? Because then it gives you more confidence in them because, hey, look, we've developed these guys to be this much better. So you're right. It's an exciting year. I don't know the last time I've been this excited for Bears football.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either.
And I feel like I say that every year, but
the last time I was this excited for Bears football was when we played the Philadelphia Eagles in 2018, and I froze my ass off to watch the double doink live and in person. So,
I bet my buddy $50 that was going to happen. He's like, no shot. I was like,
I've said it time and time again. As somebody who was not alive to watch the 1985 Bears, like my 2 biggest moments as a Bears fan were that loss to the Eagles and the loss in the Super Bowl, specifically when Devin Hester ran back the opening kick.
That's the best part of that whole Super Bowl.
Like, those are the 2 biggest memories I have as a Bears fan. It's time to change that.
100%. We don't have any fun memories of them beating the Packers. We don't have any fun memories of them winning. It's just been a rough go. And I think as Bears fans,
8 years since the Bears have beat the Packers?
Yeah.
2015?
But
Packers suck.
Packers suck.
No, we did beat them once in 18, so it's been 5 years.
Yeah, but didn't they not play anybody?
Pretty much. Yeah, so it really didn't count. The last win before that was 15.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like,
and that was the Josh McCown game, I think.
Turned. It was. The tide has turned. We're going into a new era of Bears-Packers rivalry. It's Justin Fields versus Jordan Love. It's no longer Aaron Rodgers doing the discount double clutch or whatever they call it.
I never thought that day would come, to be honest. Even when the rumors were going, I was never sure.
Until it was done, I didn't rule anything out. I'm like,
not with that dude. He's crazy.
Give him $150 million a year to make him stay.
Dude does a Pancha Karma cleanse. Like, yo, you lost in the playoffs, but I don't think that's necessary.
Right. Let me go chug some ayahuasca and think about.
Now that I mean, maybe I'm sure that's fun, but
Aaron Rodgers, never count him out till he's out. But now he's out, and now he is out with a sprained ankle. I believe. So maybe Zach
get the crap end of that.
Maybe Zach Wilson will bang Aaron Rodgers' wife, and it'll be all over.
You got to have a wife first.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers isn't married, but that obviously was a reference to Zach Wilson,
his mom's best friend.
His mom's best friend. And Jesus. Barstool made shirts.
Dropping bombs and banging moms, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
No, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's in a great situation in New York. I don't want to really talk about the Jets, but he's got the opportunity to develop behind a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, like it or not. And we don't have to see him unless we make it to the playoff.
Imagine if we went to the Super Bowl, Bears, Rodgers fucking beat the Bears again. I would throw myself at the TV.
Yeah, I probably.
Hey, you want a brighter note? Cubs game is on right now.
That it is.
They're getting annihilated 10-1.
2016 World Series champions.
Well, they're getting annihilated 10-1 right now at the top of the 8th. So all the hype I had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Hey, terrible. So they just won the series against the Mets, though, right?
Yeah.
And yes, the Cubs have not been doing the greatest as of late, but they've also had a tough stretch of games. Like, you've played the Phillies, the Astros, and Pittsburgh for the last 3.
Mm-hmm. Bullpen's been a little bit of an issue. But
that's fine. We can segue and talk a little bit of other stuff before we wrap the show up. I'm good with that.
I love the Cubs. Blackhawks, we haven't been on since they acquired the number 1 pick, Connor Bedard.
Yeah, let me take the helm on that for a minute.
Yes,
because
please do.
As as a guy who's a big-time Blackhawks fan and was disappointed to see Kaner go, disappointed to see the organization move on from Taves, so that was kind of a mutual
he's
health reasons and stuff like that. Obviously, you remember the glory days with Taves, Kane, Sharp, Crawford, all these guys, Duncan Keith, and it's like we are so far estranged from what that team was.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful for the championships we got to watch the Hawks win. But now you've got a guy in. So the Chicago Blackhawks get the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
And the best prospect in hockey of the last, dare I say, 15 years is, Connor Bedard is a guy who...
He's on like Sidney Crosby prospect levels.
He was granted like a special clemency, or I don't know what the exact term is, but he was granted like a special approval to move up and play at the next level of hockey because he was shredding competition when he was 16 years old, 15 years old. So now you've got a guy who's 17, eligible, was granted like early eligibility for the NHL draft as well, I do believe. And if you go out and watch, there's a video of Connor Bedard highlights that's like a 5-minute condensed clip of every goal he's scored over the last 2 seasons. This kid is absolutely electric. And, let me put it this way. Who was the last number 1 pick the Blackhawks had?
Patrick Kane.
Exactly. So obviously we know how Kaner did for this organization for a long time.
Right.
Connor Bedard is... Go ahead, Ace.
So I'm looking at it right now. In the last 20 years, he's the top 3rd highest ranked prospect to come into hockey under Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby. And those 2 guys, I would say,
incredible, man.
Right.
I mean,
if he lives up to the caliber of one of those guys, I mean,
that's one thing with hockey that's unique to like no other sport is they know by the time a guy's 15, 16 years old, they know if he's going to be almost a quality NHL level player. Like, the traits are there at a basic level. And, you see Connor Bedard, 17 years old. He's just going to be 18, I believe, by the time he's drafted. But you look at a guy so young, so much promise, has been granted these special exclusions to go to the next level of play. He's going to be eligible for the NHL draft a year earlier than a player normally would be. And the kid is going to tear it up one way or another. The Blackhawks cannot pass on Connor Bedard. There's no way they will. I saw one of the hockey reporters that I follow posted an article saying that, you could get a 50-plus goal scorer from another team, 2 first-round picks, 2 future second-round picks. And I'm like, that still wouldn't be enough. Because you bring Connor Bedard into Chicago and you just got a bunch of bums around him, it doesn't matter. That kid's going to be a difference maker, and he's going to make an immediate impact on the ice.
I agree. It's going to be so fun to watch competitive Blackhawks hockey again. Like
it was tough last season as a Hawks fan. I'm not going to lie. There were times that I'd get to halfway through the second period and I'm like, as much as I love the Hawks, I can't even stomach to watch this right now.
And living in Wisconsin, I only get to see them when they were on TNT or like NBC or something like that. So getting to watch them that limited amount, it was tough to sit down and actually enjoy a Blackhawks game last season.
You're going to be able to enjoy some good hockey this coming season, my friend, and that is going to be all based around Connor Bedard. One of my coworkers told me they almost ordered a Hawks custom jersey with Bedard's future number and his name on it because they were so confident that the Hawks are going with him. And I'm like, it makes sense. They're not going to pass up. This generation.
Exactly. Unless they're completely incompetent. Like, That should be the easiest decision they've made.
Right. Well, Ace, I do have to say it's an exciting time to be a Chicago sports fan, my friend.
Unless you're a Bulls fan. But
Unless
hey,
you're
that's another show. Because
that's for another show.
12 hours.
I don't want to talk about how the Bulls are broken. We can't fix it. And 2-point shots do not win in the modern NBA, but
no money, no draft picks, no players. Man.
Hey, guess what?
There's
another team in town that's owned by the same incompetent, greedy old man, Jerry Reinsdorf, who's also not performing to expectation in the Chicago White Sox. So
not at all.
Do you see a pattern here? I don't know.
It's him.
Right. I call a spade a spade, my friend.
Right. Let's call a spade a spade. I love that.
But with that being said, I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Bears fan. We have the hockey season coming up to look forward to as well. The Cubs, it's still anybody's game. We're still early in the season. Yeah, the Cubs had
division is terrible, so
division's horrible. The Cubs had a rough last 15 games, but
it was a rough month.
That's the beauty of baseball. You can go on a 2-month ripper and be right back in it.
Right,
so,
right. It's so
early. There's so many games. It's up and down, as you said. I'm not worried about the Cubs at this point.
No,
I am worried. I'm not worried about anything. I'm ecstatic to see what our Bears and our Blackhawks do.
Yeah.
In both of their upcoming seasons, respectively.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
With that being said, Ace, I think we are going to wrap up for the evening. We do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in as always. Be sure, if you are not subscribed, to go like, subscribe, and follow the Undefeated Sports Network on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook to see all the latest Chicago Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs news, and much more. As always, I am Andrew Tarbill, and this is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho. This has been another episode of Sport Court right here on the Undefeated Sports Network. And as always, Court is out of session.